I'm just making a quick video here to show you how to replace your struts slash rear shocks on Jeep Grand Cherokees and Dodge Durangos here. So I'm actually replacing them with the load leveling suspension. And I'm taking out the regular shocks, which mine were just like Monroe Reflex. So that's what I'm going to show you guys here. So first we're going to jack it up. And what we want to do is jack it up on the tiny bump stop there. It kind of looks like it is a bump stop. So that's what we're going to do. Make sure it's like there. There you go. And then you're good. And then you can start raising it up. And I usually like to stop there and start cracking the lug nuts loose with this. So I'm going to start cracking these loose real quick. Don't mind the wheels there because the wheels are, I just bought these off Facebook because they're just for the winter time, so I could care less about the aesthetic. And what I like to do is just crack these loose. Just like that. And now we're going to jack it up off the ground again, completely off the ground. Just like that. Tires, there we go, we're free. Now we're going to use an impact drill now to take these off because don't want to be waking up the neighbors. So this come off a lot easier. Now usually what I like to do is put the wheel, if you don't have jack stands, I have jack stands, it's just this is not a long process, but I also like to put the wheel right beside the jack underneath the vehicle, so if anything happens you have that much space of the Jeep in case if the jack fails. So that's kind of what I like to do there, because your body is worth more than a piece of tire and a rim. So if anything were to happen, I know it's kind of a larger space here, but that's always what I do just in case. But I would usually stick a jack stand in that area, but this is not a long process at all, and this is a really good jack, Michelin one. I highly recommend it. It's probably one of the best jacks I had. So essentially I'm taking out these Monroe Reflex shocks that I bought brand new not too long ago actually, and I'm replacing them with the load leveling suspension. I already completed the other side. Can't see it, but I did complete it, so I'm just going to show a how-to video on that. So, alright. So what you're going to do here now is you're going to use a 21mm socket here. I have a snap-on half-inch drive. That's just going to go like right here onto this nut, and then you're going to need a 24mm wrench to grab hold of the nut on the opposite side. Okay, so just like that, and now we're gonna start cracking it loose. Sorry, I'm tightening. There we go. Just like that. And it may be squeaky. Which is common. There we go. If you want to know any questions, I was a automotive service technician for about 10 years. I got my Journey Person Red Seal. That's here in Canada. I guess for the States and other places it's called like your lumberjack or something like that. I don't know exactly. But yeah, that's what we're going to do now. And you will get this sprung, so as you can kind of see, like I'm not able to get this out because there's a lot of tension still. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take the 15mm with a little extension, and I'm just showing you guys with hand tools. You guys can do this all with impacts if you want, but I always just use hand tools for tutorials. And there'll be 2 bolts up here, and I'm just showing you because you can do this at the same pace as me and be done at the same time. So one of the 2 bolts. And I got my son right beside me. He's watching. Nope, pneumonia. I'm just kind of to make sure this nut bolt is out. So there it is here. So there's 2 of these guys here. That's all it is. So I'll just set that down. And then we're gonna do the other side. This side I do have to kind of look up and see. And you kind of do, but you don't have to take off the fender line or anything like that unless you want to, but you don't need to. And then you can start taking off this. And you're going to notice with the second one that it's going to be like this all the way through because there's tension right now on the whole suspension. So once I crack this loose, the whole suspension is going to drop. So you just got to be careful. And what you can do to prevent that is you can use a jack and just kind of load some suspension underneath where the flat ball joint is. Don't go off the rotor here because the rotor could slip and spin and cause injuries. So I see a lot of people do that. It's fine if you're doing something super quick, there's not an issue. But if you're planning to move a big bunch of parts and you're doing that for the entire time, I don't trust that. So okay, I can feel it. It's about to pop down here. There we go. You ready? There it is, see? Just like that. So here's the other one here. Now, this is loose, so we can pop out this bolt, no problem. And what I like to do to get this out, sometimes you're gonna have a little bit of trouble. Sorry, I'm gonna grab my camera, phone camera. And you're gonna have a little bit of trouble to kind of weave over all of this stuff. Like, it's kind of hard. So what I like to do is I like to like pull against the fender liner, so pull it forward and then raise it up. There we go. And then it just swings out like that, see? And then swing up, done. Out, just like that. So now we're gonna put in the low leveling off my 2021 Dodge Durango with about 80,000 K. If you've seen my last video prior, I kind of go over and talk to about it and kind of go over the specs and length of the shock and stuff like that. But here it is here again. So that's what I'm installing. I'll gain about 1 inch in height, if that, which is okay because I put 65 18s on here instead of 60 18s. So the factory height is 265 60 18 if you have the 18-inch. And I just went with a 265 65 18 because there's still lots of room on the Jeep Grand Cherokee. So yeah, so again, same procedure. You may have a little bit of trouble doing it with this one just because it is going to be 1 inch longer. And with these, you're actually able to compress them. If you're strong enough, you can easily just push it on the shock and quickly pull it out before it starts to expand again. But with these low leveling ones, you cannot. So, and I showed in the last video as well, I can't even push down on this thing with my body weight. So very heavy duty and good for stuff like that. There's the 2 holes there. They are the same mounts. These 2 holes in here are the exact same size and line up to those. So, and to find out if you do have the low leveling or have low leveling shocks, just notice that these will be on them. That's how you know they're low leveling, along with the dust boot as well, and the thickness of the shock, even compared to aftermarket ones. I believe I still have my original shocks actually. If I go over here, yes I do. See, here's a factory one. This actually came out, see? Here's a factory shock on my Grand Cherokee there. So, and I'm able to get my fingers around it. Like, I mean, it's a very tiny shock. But if you come over to the low leveling, I can't even get my whole hand around it. Like, they're thicker, they're heavy duty, so you know you have the low leveling shock just by feel. So I don't know if there's scammers or people out there who will just like swap these and put them on the old ones and put the dust boot, but even the dust boot is longer as well. It's about 1 inch longer almost, right? So yeah, you can definitely tell if they're low leveling or not, especially because you can push down on these no problem. So I'm just going to show it again here. These I can pretty much push down with one hand. Hang on, I just gotta get a good grip. I don't want to hurt myself here. And it's bottomed out right there. These ones, good luck. You're not gonna push them down. So, yeah. So let's get these installed here, and I'll put my phone camera back up. You know, it's funny, as a videographer that I do full time. I always use like my phone camera instead of like my professional camera, because then I would have to like set up my tripod, but I'd be able to make my videos look really good though. But I don't have time for that, so I just want to help people out right now and kind of get back into the YouTube world. So hopefully that's good. You guys can see here and up here. So yeah, let's try to get this guy back in. So usually what I like to do, first things first, take off this. And I'll just use that one from the Durango, and I'll put this one back with the Jeep one. Okay, so here's what we're going to do now. We're going to kind of do the same procedure here. And now that, for whatever reason on the Durango, because it has a different coil spring suspension, mine didn't actually drop out. Like, I had to pry down on my suspension. This, it gives you extra room. So I guess it'll say it's easier on the Jeeps, I guess. I don't know. But here's what we're going to do. So we're going to come back up again, just like how we did, and like pull. Oh, sorry. Oh yes, I should mention, this is just the mounting bracket for on top of the shock, on top of your old one. So you got to make sure that you have it on if you are doing this. Okay, so here they are. Hopefully you can see this good, but it just goes like this. You can see like the rubber stampings where the inside is, and this just goes on top here like this. There. And that's all it does. It just sits on there. So anyways, so we're gonna go in exact same thing here, and just kind of pull the fender liner, slide it up, and just got to get over and in. There we go. And you'll find if you're doing it on the Durango, I have like a 5-foot pry bar. I pried from this side here underneath the shock to like push down and compress on the shock to slide it in. So it definitely was harder on the Durango, but I do have a little bit of skills and experience and kind of know that stuff, so it wasn't an issue. But for those of you who don't and want to do it yourself, you definitely can. You'll might have a little bit of struggle there, but you will be fine, and you don't have to freak out and get your vehicle towed because you can't install the shock. So you'll be able to figure out. What I like to do, take this with my extension, of course, same bolts. The only thing that I didn't notice is that the Durangos had 16mm bolts for these. These are 15, but I actually measured. I took the measurements, and the washer head size of the bolt is the exact same size. So for them to use a 16mm bolt to a 15, like there's not really any difference there. It's still going to hold it. That's just, they just decided to use 16mm bolts instead of 15, and these washers still line up with the washers that are on the aluminum one, so they literally have the same coverage, so you don't have to put washers or anything like that on. I'm just trying to give you as much information because I know a lot of YouTube videos will just kind of, yeah, you take out these two bolts, install that one, and you're good to go. There's no information. You can't learn off that, right? It's like trying to learn math in school. They show, oh yeah, 5 times 5 equals 25. That's it. Well, no, like you have to show the work for that. Anyways, so that's what I'm doing now. There we go. And then you're going to notice here that this shock now, I can't even, like, I need to move this up, and you're not going to be strong enough to go against springs. So that's why we're going to use this. You should still be able to see it. I was talking about earlier about the jack. I have another jack. No surprise there. As an automotive service tech, I have a ton of these. And I just use a tiny floor jack. It's going to be a tiny floor jack. What we're going to do is pry up on this bottom ball joint. And I'm just going to look to make sure we're still recording. So, this tiny ball joint here. And we're going to jack it up so it lines up with that hole. Okay? So here we go. And it's safe to do so. Just so you're aware. go. Get my little bar in here now. And we can just start kind of lining it up to make sure. And I'm going slow too. Like I did the other side in probably like 3 minutes. But I'm just showing you guys in a video here, which you guys can literally like follow along. And there we have it. And sometimes don't be afraid if it doesn't go in for whatever reason you're struggling. I don't have my hammer, but you can just hammer it out, because it does have splines on the inside, so sometimes it doesn't catch to where it was, especially if you're using a new bolt. And that's it, done. So that's tight now. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna show you, I'm actually gonna jack it up a tiny bit, and you're gonna kind of see the shock compress a bit here, just a tiny bit. So now I know there's load. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm actually gonna tighten up the top. I'm gonna tighten up the top, and I know those are going to be true and flat on the surface. So let's tighten that up. And again, these, I think the spec on these, if I recall, not very much, like 30 some foot-pounds. It's probably about like 33 to 40. It's not much, but I just go like hand tight. I mean, don't overdo it obviously, because you don't want to snap the bolt. If you break the bolt, then you have an issue. So snug tight with kind of a little bit of firm pressure. But if you have a torque wrench, you'd be safe with like 50 pounds. You know, I don't want to go too much over that. And I cannot find the bolt head. There we go. There we go. So those are on there now. Now we're just going to drop this. Just like that. I'll just get the strap all the way down. Can't get this out of the way. Now we're going to tighten up the bottom shock. And guess what we do after that? We put the tire back on, because that's all that there is to it, and we're done. So, again, these I like to go just as tight as you want, almost not as tight as you want, obviously. Again, even if you have like I have that 19 volt Mac tools, which does about like 300 some pounds. I'm good with just snugging it up with that, not obviously holding it down until it stops turning, but impact it until it stops turning and you feel like it's been grabbed, and then it's good. So, you know, that's if you absolutely have no idea what you're doing, you'll be good. And here we go. So it feels like, it's snug here now, but what I like to do is just go a little bit more, and now that's it. Like it's tight. Done. Now we got some load leveling shocks installed, and then that's it. Now you can pop your tire back on. I'm sure you guys know how to do that. So yeah, so you know, thanks for watching this like 15-20 minute video, I guess what it's going to be by the end of it. And you know, I hope this helps for you who want to, oh, a big loud diesel. It's a big loud diesel. If you want to even just replace your shocks because they're worn or something. Mine weren't worn, I just didn't like the ride comfort of these at all. I actually preferred, and you'll kind of see why this thing has a cut here on the boot. And I'm sure a lot of you who are experienced know why I probably cut this. Okay, and you might actually see a tiny bit of teeth marks on here. It's because when I had to mount these onto the new shocks from the old ones over there, I needed to grab hold of the actual strut so I could tighten on the bolt. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to. It's just going to spin and spin and spin. So that's why. So those of you who see this know exactly why. But for these you don't have to, because from what I was told, they don't sell these low levelings unless you go direct from the dealer and request that you want number 15, I think it is. It comes as a whole, so you will come with the top brackets, because they don't want you touching or tampering with the strut load leveling inside, because it's very dangerous, high pressure. If something goes wrong and you try to take off the nut and transfer and you don't have the proper tools to hold it down or compress it, it will kill you if you're not careful. So just respect these things. And I always say that is, you know, like, people have to respect things, you know, like even alcohol, for example. You gotta respect alcohol because it's very dangerous and it could lead you into a very bad, addicting lifestyle. So there's just no more respect in this world, and it just has to be taught more. So yeah, so there it is there. And we are done. I'm gonna go for the road test. I measured the other side already, and I'm already up a good almost inch and a half. So obviously it's gonna look super high from here. It's not, because I have the other side jacked up, but I was about from the top of the fender measured to the center of the hub. I was about 22 and a half. So from my stock one, I was about 20 and a half, 21-ish. So it's definitely for sure an inch and up raise with just the load leveling, but it's going to maintain that because now it's not going to move up and down as much, especially if you just want that higher look. Or you can buy like shock spacers to raise it up and all that stuff. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I hope this helped you, and feel free to ask anything. Have a great day, and Guamazin.